What's up, guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2016 Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn. Up front is a 5.7 liter V8, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Ram 1500 for two reasons. First of all, as a personal reason, it's very nostalgic for me. My first vehicle I ever drove was a 1998 Dodge Ram 1500 that was also rear-wheel drive, that was also white, and so a little bit of nostalgia bleeding into this one for sure. But the second reason is the fact that I've always liked the Laramies, I've always liked the luxury aspect of it, and this gives me a good opportunity to talk about why Dodge and Ram split in 2009. In lieu of submitting your vehicle to have it reviewed here on the channel, I ask that you consider donating to Project Fire Buddies. Project Fire Buddies is a nonprofit that helps sick children when they need it the most. Any donation helps, and they also do raffles and giveaways like for this 2024 Jeep. It's a fantastic organization for an even more fantastic cause. But let's get back to that 5.7 liter V8 under the hood. Well, this was a bread and butter engine for Dodge and Ram and Chrysler for a very, very long time. Here in 2024, we're starting to see this engine get phased out. In turn, the inline 6 Hurricane engine has been slowly replacing this 5.7. But that's not to say this isn't a good engine. They've just kind of reached the lifespan of it. It makes solid power. These were pretty good. Some cylinder deactivation issues plagued these engines in the early 2010s, but they were worked out by the end of the decade, so it's not really that big of a worry. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic, and I like it. Again, it's shifting really nice and smooth. I normally don't have the biggest trust in Stellantis transmissions. Their truck transmissions, however, seem to be okay in this era, and so I'm not too worried there. Last but not least, this Ram 1500 is rear-wheel drive. Now, you can, of course, get these in 4-wheel drive, but this one is rear. Kind of an interesting spec to have a very high trim without 4-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the Laramie Longhorn 1500? Well, it's actually really nice and smooth, and that's always been the calling card of Ram and Dodge. They might not have the most popular truck on the market. That cake has always been taken by the Ford F-150, but it's always been the most luxurious experience at nearly every trim level. Even the base model Rams can kind of hold their own against other base model trucks. Visibility is pretty good, nothing really to shake a stick at, but nice. The ride quality is great, again, a lot better than other vehicles or other trucks in this class, I should say. Steering is a little bit heavy, but you're going to find that with pretty much any truck, so that doesn't really mean much. And overall, I really enjoy driving it. If I could drive any of the major 3 trucks, it would probably be the Ram, just going off of that. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 6 gauges and a screen. So off to the left, we have our coolant temperature, tachometer, and battery voltage. And off to the right, we have our oil pressure, speedometer, and fuel. And then in the center, we do get that screen. I really like that there's a sort of window to this other selector screen. Makes it sort of feel all together, not just like there was a screen hot glued behind the plastic here. So I really, really like that touch. And of course, you could cycle through a bunch of interesting things. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our voice commands, phone options, and selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as off to the right, we have our gear up and down. This is for engine braking in the mountains, as well as our cruise control on and off, but this was before adaptive cruise control. We also get this nice wood accent on the steering wheel. We'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. And off to the left, we have our climate control vent, headlight switch, dome light, and gauge dimmer switch. Moving onto the door, we have more wood accents along with the handle to get in and out, power mirrors, power windows, and power locks. Moving into the center, we have our little badge for the Alpine sound system. Absolutely love that. We have our Ram logo up here. And then off to the right, I just want to talk about this really quickly. This is not stock to the Ram. This is an aftermarket piece, but I didn't know this existed till today. This is actually a baby monitor. And so there's a camera in the back seat looking at the child seat, so the parents can can actually keep an eye on the kids. I didn't know this existed, and so if you're a parent, this might be something you might want to look into. Because again, like I said, I've never seen this before, and I thought that was really cool, but it is not stock to the Ram. Just want to point that out for any potential parents. Down below, we have our infotainment system. This is the Uconnect system from Dodge. It's fine. It does the job. I don't love it. The backup camera isn't the clearest in the world. And this was a weird time. They were still doing like Uconnect apps and stuff and pre-Apple CarPlay and all that. So I don't love it, but it's here and it's functioning. Down below, we have our radio buttons for volume and tune, as well as our hazard button, screen off, and climate controls. Dual zone climate found here in the Laramie Longhorn. And down below, we have our trailer brake adjustment, traction control off, tow haul mode, parking sensors on and off, heated and ventilated seats. Absolutely love seeing that. And then, of course, our heated steering wheel. Off to the left of all that, we do have our shifter. So this is the rotary dial shifter, and a lot of people gave this shifter a bunch of flack when it first came out, and they're like, oh, what if you want to change the volume and you accidentally throw it in reverse doing 90? Yeah, that doesn't happen. That's not really an issue. And so I've actually grown to like it. It's fine. It works. Down below that is where you would find your four-wheel drive settings, but like I said, this is only a two-wheel drive. To the right of the radio stack, we have a little cubby and a 115-volt AC wall outlet. Absolutely love that for up here in the front, especially if you have a significant other that's always cold. Heated blankets. Down below, we have a little tray and an openable cubby. This does have holders for your phone with slits in them to allow the charging cable to stick through. This is a little bit before wireless chargers were more common in cars, so that was Ram's solution in 2016. And off to the right, we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn, and surprisingly, it fails. Most trucks pass. That's where most of the big friggin' bottles pass, is trucks and minivans, but unfortunately, not here today. Then we do have a center console that has the Laramie Longhorn Edition leather embossed on the top. Love that. And then the seats. As I said, the seats are power, memory, heated, and ventilated. So pretty much anything I could possibly ask for, these seats will do. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2016 Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn, and a couple of things to note. First of all, I do have like saddlebags on the back of the seats, which is interesting, and barbed wire down on the floor mats. But I do have a center console here with two cup holders. I have my own 12-volt outlet, heated seats, and my own vents, which is really nice to see. The space back here is wonderful. I'm 5'11", not a small guy. Head's not coming close to the ceiling. Knees are not coming close to the seats in front of me. You could really rent this out as an in-law suite if you wanted to. I mean, there's so much space back here, and that's really, really nice. That's something that wasn't particularly there back in the 90s when I was driving Dodge Rams, or when I was driving Dodge Rams from the 90s. I was born in the 90s. I was not driving them at 2 years old. But I used to drive a 90s Ram, and so this definitely was not the case. So in the last couple of years, this has gotten bigger and bigger. And the 5th generation Ram that has come after this has an even bigger back seat, if you could believe that. So backseat space is a big, big win here in the Laramie Longhorn, and one of my favorite parts of this truck. However, speaking of space, let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the bed, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn. Take a shot every time I say the full name. Anyway, once we are back here, we just do have a simple bed mat. We do have tie-down hooks at the front, lights back here as well, LED lights, but no outlets. Nothing too crazy. This is actually where the truck starts to really feel basic, which is the only part of the truck that feels basic and simple. However, it's a bit of a truck. I mean, you don't really need it to do much else. An outlet would be nice, and more modern Rams do have outlets in the bed, but not the end of the world. We do get the standard tailgate as well. Not power assisted, but it's also not too heavy, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I've always liked the look of the 4th generation Ram. I've always thought it was pretty good. However, I really like this. Again, the nostalgia for me of the white color for sure. But I think that the Laramie Longhorn does get some nicer accents, sort of dresses it up a little bit, and I like to see that. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving? a Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn from 2016. Well, this is an incredibly nice experience, and I think these trucks are a really good buy this day and age because they still look decently modern. They definitely have modern features like ventilated seats, the backup camera, all of that goodiness. The Alpine sound system still sounds good. But with the new Rams on the horizon, I think these are going to drop in price at least a little bit. The 5.7 has proven itself to be pretty reliable. I guess my one dislike of the Laramie Longhorn is that some of the accents in here, and I said this in my 2019 review as well, some of the accents in here feel a little bit played up. I don't need barbed wire on the rear floor mats. I don't need these little designs on the gauges. I think some of it is a little bit much, especially the tribal tattoo looking front dash. However, if you do want those nice features, it's all just part of the package. So I'll put up with it for my Alpine sound system and ventilated seats. And so let's go back to 2009 when this generation of Ram started. Why did Dodge and Ram split? Everyone has always asked that question. What it really comes down to is marketing. FCA at the time wanted to split up Dodge and Ram because they wanted to sell them to two different demographics. Ram is that hardcore workers mentality. This is blue collar. This is something that you drive to the job site and you take off your Dickie jeans. Wait, why would you be taking off your Dickie jeans at the job site? Hold on! Not that kind of job. You get there in your Carhartt jacket and you unzip it and you start welding at your union job. That's the kind of idea that Ram wanted to push. But with Dodge, they wanted to push a younger audience. They wanted that hopped up muscle car sort of audience. And so they diversified by splitting Dodge and Ram up. Ram was going to focus on blue collar, Dodge focus on teenage angst pretty much. And I think it kind of unintentionally worked really well in their favor because here in 2024, Stellantis is not in a great position. And the CEO came out and said, if there's a brand that's not making money, I'll happily cut them. So now that Dodge and Ram are split up, they can make their own separate decisions. I would not be surprised that if I heard at some point in the future that Stellantis sells Ram to another company and keeps Dodge or vice versa. We might get a time at some point where these two aren't under the same umbrella. For now that they are, but it might not always be the case. It's also really interesting because throughout the 1970s and 80s, Dodge was producing trucks and cars under the same name, and they were so vastly different. Take a look at this 1989 Dodge Ram, and then take a look at this 1989 Dodge Shadow. I mean, these look like they aren't even siblings, and yet they were under the same umbrella. So it's kind of weird that once they started to actually build similar vehicles, then they split them up to Ram and Dodge. I've always found that kind of interesting. But hey, I don't run Stellantis, so who am I to judge? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Alejandro for letting me take out his Ram 1500. This was a really, really fun experience for me. I was so happy to get back behind the wheel of another big white Ram 1500. Alejandro was absolutely awesome to work with. I appreciate him fitting me into his schedule, and I'm looking forward to working together again in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.